And welcome to Viewpoint. I'm Wendy Rieger, and if you are a nonprofit or you know someone with a nonprofit, this is the show for you. Get a cup of coffee, pull up a chair, and you're going to listen to this. Because if you have a good idea, we want to pay you for it. NBC is offering $100,000 in grants for nonprofits in our area who are creatively solving problems here. It's called the 21st Century Solutions Grant, and time is running out. If you think your nonprofit qualifies or you have a great idea, we need to know about it, but you have until July 31st. That's Wednesday to apply. Wednesday, so it's a tight deadline. And to help you decide if you're worthy and maybe give you some information and some inspiration, we have our winners from last year. Let's start with the DC Central Kitchen and Alexander Justice Moore at the end of the table. You started something called Healthy Corners. We're going to talk about that, and you got $50,000 in grants. And then next to me is Dr. Kathy Richard Andrews of the Academy of Health Sciences at the Prince George's Community College, doing a Health is Wealth program. You guys got $25,000. Yes, and in the middle is John Woodard of Arlington Alexandria Coalition for the Homeless. Your distance education program won, and you too got $25,000. So let's begin. Let's start with the big one, Alex. What is the Healthy Corners? What was that idea?
Sure. So Healthy Corners was initially a pilot program where we reached out to local corner stores in wards 5, 7, and 8 of Washington, D.C. And in these corner stores, they have lots of processed food, lots of chips, candy, and soda, but not a lot of fresh produce, not a lot of healthy options for families, for children, for working parents. And so we said, well, we've got trucks, we've got a kitchen facility, we've got local produce. Why don't we bring these items to these stores? And so we went out to the stores, developed these relationships, gave them refrigeration units to keep the produce fresh, gave them shelving units to provide, attractive spaces for our products. And we were able to grow our sales through this grant to the tune of about $5,000 every month of fresh produce reaching these communities.
Wow, so you become like the middleman, you become the distributor. And it's been is the community eating it up, so to speak?
Yeah, sales are up 40% since we received this grant.
Wonderful, because this is addressing the food desert issue, which has become sort of the buzzword for the urban communities, correct?
Absolutely, and affordable access to healthy food is a real challenge. This is something that for-profit wholesalers haven't really seen to be a viable business model, but because we're a nonprofit, because we can receive grants, we're merging social enterprise and revenue-generated activities with philanthropic and charitable contributions to develop something our community really needs.
Great. Okay, we're going to talk more about that, but Kathy, tell me about the health, the Health Equals Wealth. What you guys are doing to get kids into careers in the healthcare industry, correct?
Correct. But let me begin by letting the audience know who we are.
Okay.
The Academy of Health Sciences at Prince George's Community College is an early college high school located on the campus of Prince George's Community College. We are a Prince George's County public school, and we are in partnership with the Prince George's Community College in providing a high school for students who enter in grade 9, and by their 4th year in high school, they're able to receive an associate degree in health sciences or STEM and a high school diploma. Our Health is Wealth initiative is a part of our school design. Our students are given opportunities to work with agencies, healthcare related agencies, as well as do internships, and we also sponsor health related themes and activities around the campus. One, of course, is our participation in the What Makes a Healthy Community theme through the community college on our Rock the Pink Day. The Rock Pink Day takes part in October, and the students actually plan a walk for breast cancer, and they raise funds, and they actually bring awareness to the community, particularly in the African American community, where we know that 40% of all African American women, by the time they get to the doctor and have a mammogram, are into the later stages of breast cancer. All of our students participate in that, and we also plan a Diabetes Awareness Month, as well as our Heart is Healthy Month,
Okay.
at which time we promote good health for men and women with heart disease.
Okay, and we're going to talk a little bit. I like your program is getting them early, even though that's. Well, we'll talk about that in a second.
Okay.
But John, I want you to tell me about. You have a wonderful program that is bringing the education into the homes of people. They'll come to you, correct?
We do, Wendy. We serve primarily women and families who have either experienced homelessness or are on the verge of becoming homeless. And as you can imagine, the trauma and issues connected with that are huge all over the place. Training and education is really one of the keys. It's the primary key to helping these folks get into permanent housing and stay in permanent housing. We all know what it costs to live in Northern Virginia. And our folks are
anywhere in this region.
Right, and our folks are really under the gun on that. So so training and education is hugely important. Also, if you live in Northern Virginia, you have an innate understanding of what it takes to get from point A to point B. With traffic and childcare and everything else, it makes it very difficult for folks to get to a fixed site to participate in training. So what we've decided to do with this project is to really take the training to folks using teleconferencing as the primary means of instruction. So we've put computers and webcams in people's homes, taught them how to use them, and invested a fair amount of money in professional grade camera equipment and equipment, and we're running web conferences with people in their homes.
Okay, we're going to get into this a little bit more when we come back from the break, but again, we are talking about the 21st Century Solution grants. There is a deadline, Wednesday, July 31st, to get your grant in so that you can be a contender for $100,000 that we're going to be distributing to nonprofits in our community. We'll be right back. Hi, welcome back. We're talking about the 21st Century Solution grants that we're giving out to nonprofits. We have $100,000 that we want to give to nonprofits to help them with their innovative programs, which you have to have an innovative programs. And we have the DC Central Kitchen, the Arlington Alexandria Coalition for the Homeless, and the Academy of Health Sciences at the Prince George's County Community College. I asked you earlier when we were talking before we started, and I said, let's just start with John, with you. You got $25,000. Does that do much?
Well, it's huge, and it's not so much the money that is huge, it's the way the money came to us. Oftentimes small nonprofits like ourselves are faced with dealing with very rigorous RFPs and scopes of work that, however you cut it, involves us having to pound a square peg into a round hole. Ooh. It never fits very well.
Yeah.
And we do that because that's how it's done. But this particular grant has allowed us the flexibility, frankly, to try some new things, to experiment with some ideas, and to use our intuition, in a sense, to build a program that is uniquely suited to us, not necessarily the funder. Okay. And that's big.
Like what? Like what have you done with it?
Well, For example, our project involves installing a lot of equipment,
Sure.
of video conferencing equipment that's fairly expensive. We're also putting a lot of resources into people's homes. Well, they don't necessarily all live in Arlington County. Or Alexandria. They live across Northern Virginia. Well, a lot of grants and programs restrict your use of funds to a particular jurisdiction or a particular income level. We haven't had to deal with that. We are able to say this makes sense to us right now. We're going to do it, and we can move very quickly and have had the ability to apply the technology to folks that we wouldn't otherwise have been able to do under most restricted grants.
Well, good. Stop and call you Dr. Kathy, since that's the cool thing to do these days. Dr. Kathy, tell me what the Academy of Health Sciences did with the money.
We've been able to use the funds to support our student, what makes a healthy community initiative, by providing funding for 22 of our students to attend the Middle College National Consortium Student Leadership Conference in Columbus, Ohio in April. Our students spent a week, as we discussed, doing a fire drill. Our students spent a week in Columbus, at which time they were involved in activities that had been planned and had been planned all year on promoting, for our theme, what makes a healthy community. And of course, our students' focus was on planning what we now will have as the culminating event in October, the community health fair at the community college. Most importantly, the funds were used because we don't get those extra dollars to allow for our students to participate in conferences.
Traveling, taking
and
students
traveling was
anywhere
so,
is
like the
expensive.
charter bus,
Oh,
the
you know
registration
it.
fees,
Yeah.
along with the hotel fees and
Right.
food. And over 50% of our kids qualify for free and reduced lunch. And even those who don't, during these times of economic hardships, it's really cool to be able to offer students this opportunity where there is no cost, out-of-pocket cost for parents.
Great. And what did you, Alex, for the DC Central Kitchen, again, trying to get an oasis in the middle of a food desert? How did you got 50,000? Was that a lot of money for you?
It absolutely was. And for a project of this size, where we're serving 30 corner stores on a weekly or bi-weekly basis, there are a lot of costs. Some of it's trucks, some of it's distribution, some of it's preparing local produce and putting them into appealing packaging options for our customers. But the two things that this grant really allowed us to do was, one, to innovate and take chances. We tried new products. Celery didn't sell. And the way that this grant was structured, we could take those chances and fail and learn. And you know what? We found that grapes were really, really successful. And that sort of relationship is critical. The other piece is that we were able to create and sustain living wage jobs here in the district. And everything that we do at DC Central Kitchen goes back to training men and women who are chronically unemployed, overcoming histories of addiction or incarceration, and getting them back to work. And so no program can be truly innovative if it's just addressing the symptoms of the problem. We have to get back to the real causes of it. And so if we care about food deserts, if we care about homelessness, we have to go to poverty, we have to go back to job creation.
Okay. Hold that thought. We're going to take a quick break. We're talking about the 21st Century Solutions Grants. How you apply by this Wednesday, the 31st, is up on the screen there. Go to NBCWashington.com if you think you've got a great idea and you're a nonprofit in our area. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Got a big idea and you're a nonprofit here in the Washington, D.C. area. We want to give you some money. We have $100,000 that we're giving away to nonprofits that have a great innovative idea. It's called the 21st Century Solutions Grants. You have a deadline. It's the 31st, Wednesday, to get your proposal in, so don't dilly-dally. And joining me are last year's winners. We were talking earlier, I would assume that you nonprofits have the ability to be innovative, but you were saying, no, you can't really, to be innovative, you need money, correct? Anyone.
We learn a lot on the front lines of these big issues. And so if it's something that Washington's talking about or that's covered in the national media, we're learning about it on the front lines. But taking those lessons and turning them into viable programs takes access to capital. And the way most grants are structured, the way most donation cycles are structured, innovation's really tough. And it's tough to stay on top of these crises as they emerge.
Why is innovation? Why is it so tough? I mean, why is it? Why do you? I mean, is it tough? Fundraising has gotten as bad as we hear about it. I mean, is that what y'all are in the trenches? So
well, it's very obviously it's very competitive and increasing. The competition is, but innovation requires the ability to accept failure and to try.
Right.
And most of the programs that nonprofits are involved in are pretty well structured. In other words, they're structured around proven best practices, if you will. And the notion of having funds available to try something new and different that's not necessarily proven as a best practice is, to a donor is a risky proposition. As I indicated earlier, we promoted the project that we were fortunate enough to get funded through NBC for almost 2.5 years, marketing it to every nonprofit and every funding source we could find.
And no bites?
And no bites, because it was viewed as interesting, but are we willing to take a shot at something like that that's not a proven model? Fortunately, NBC did, and frankly, as a result of that, we're now getting some traction.
Oh, interesting.
From other places. So that's a payoff.
Do you find it in academia? How do you measure your successes, or how do you measure your innovations, or see if what's working and what isn't? Because learning is a long process.
It is, but let me begin by saying the Academy of Health Sciences at Prince George's Community College is built upon big ideas and innovations. We're the first in Maryland again, Virginia, and the District of Columbia. And as a first, we have really many ideas on how we want to begin to promote and see our children achieve. But the funds have allowed us to work seamlessly with the funds that we receive from the school district in promoting academic rigor and in actually exposing our students to higher learning and higher thinking by being in the community college atmosphere, as well as going outside of the schoolhouse to participate in the activities that I've described before, in the student leadership conference, etc.
Right. Once you get a grant, do you get on radars? In other words, once you're successful with grants, do other grants follow? Is that something that happens in your community?
Well, success breeds success, clearly. The reality of it is that many grants are very focused on a particular outcome that they're trying to achieve. So it's also very siloed in many cases.
Well, how so? What's that mean?
Well, siloed by the sense of we have funds available to provide vocational training to children between the ages of 17 and 18. Another source, we have funds available to work with senior citizens between the age, you see what I'm...
So it's very specific.
They're very, very targeted and very focused kinds of expectations. So it's difficult to leverage those. It's like putting a jigsaw puzzle together.
Yeah,
the pieces are there, but to fit them together is quite frankly quite challenging.
You almost have to be an expert at writing grants as much as helping the community. I mean, you need to have a lot of expertise, yeah?
Yeah, and grants are extremely technical, and anytime that you're in your office writing grants it's time away from your clients, it's time away from potential partnerships that you could be developing. And so when you have a partnership like the one that we've all developed with NBC, with an application that is straightforward and not onerous, with a conversation that continues after the money is awarded, where we're working to promote our programs and spread the message, that's the ideal type of partnership.
All right, so see, there you go. The application process is not onerous. So get on your computer, go to NBCWashington.com, You have until the 31st. That's this Wednesday. If you're a nonprofit with a big idea, we have $100,000, and some of that could come to your organization. We'll be right back. So what's the big idea? We have three of them here. Joining me today on Viewpoint are last year's winners of the 21st Century Solutions Grant. And we have another giveaway coming up on giveaway. It's like a game show. We have another where we need to disperse $100,000 again to nonprofits who have a really innovative program, and the deadline is the 31st of July, which is this Wednesday. I'm curious, when you have a great idea, how is the pollination between nonprofits? Do you all share, or is everyone sort of so busy? I understand it's difficult in the trenches, so busy clawing their way to their mission that they don't really know what other people are doing. Does that happen?
It's definitely a challenge. We were fortunate that Healthy Corners grew out of a connection with DC Hunger Solutions, another nonprofit that had tried this on a smaller scale and was ready to hand it off to an organization with our capacity. So we were able to build on that idea and work with their expertise. But that's a luxury, and most organizations are trying to innovate in the trenches, and that communication can get very difficult.
Did you find that, John?
It's somewhat of a schizophrenic reality. In one sense, we are competing with one another for funds and for programs. So
I was wondering about that. That's
it's
kind
a reality.
of the awkwardness of nonprofits.
On the other hand, we're not experts in education. That's not our thing. So we work closely with George Mason. We work very closely with the Virginia Cooperative Extension Service that has helped us do design curriculum and do some things. So it's a matter really of not general pollination, but putting the pollen seeds where they belong. In other words, we're good at certain kinds of things. We now have a technical capability that nobody else has through this video conferencing system. But we don't necessarily have the curriculum and the know-how to train people to be cooks and so forth. So how to marry those realities is a real both opportunity and challenge.
And communicating. I mean, is there a site, a cloud that you all communicate through? I mean, how does A know what B's doing? How did you know what he was doing? Do you know what he's doing? How do you guys communicate among each other?
I'm a little different in that I represent an educational institution. And the way we do things is that once my colleagues and other members of the Middle College National Consortium, which consists of early and middle colleges from across the country, hear that, oh, Kathy got this grant. How can we do that? How do we write that? What's the requirement? We get to share information. and they really like us here. They really like the fact that our partnership with NBC4 has flourished so much throughout the year. I agree with you guys. I just love this relationship because this isn't the first or the second time we've talked about the monies that we receive, and NBC4 has been so supportive of our initiatives that it is something when I hear about the fact that there are other institutions across the country that can apply for this same kind of grant. That's information that I share with my colleagues.
Right. And do you, like, you're looking at health and wellness. You're bringing healthful foods. You're in education. You have computer programs going into. Do you cross-pollinate in ways that are sort of, you wouldn't think about it, like organizations I would never think about what they're doing? Do you know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. And it's important for private sector and public sector partners of these organizations to help bridge those gaps. So we work very closely with the DC Department of Health that's having us work with a small area nonprofit that does marketing assistance around health issues. So we're helping to reach a smaller, younger demographic through this other smaller group. And so this is when you give to a nonprofit, one of the best things you can give is your time and your connections and your thought in addition to your dollars, because you can help open doors for them as well.
Great.
You're also looking for win-win scenarios. In other words, our relationship with George Mason, for example, has worked out very well because it provides internship opportunities for their graduate people in their counseling program. We couldn't afford to buy that level of talent, frankly, if we had to pay full, market rate for it. But because it's part of an educational program, we're able to get world-class talent that we desperately need, and they're able to get not only resume building but practical experience at the same time. So the key, I think, is to look for where are the win-win points, where compatibility of interest and compatibility of resource exists.
Great. We're going to have to leave it there. We're out of time, but congratulations. Continue to do the wonderful good works that you do, Alex, at the DC Central Kitchen with your healthy corners. John, with you're getting this education at the Alexandria and Arlington Coalition for the Homeless, and Dr. Kathy Richard Andrews at the Academy of Health Sciences at the Prince George's Community College. Thank you so much. 21st Century Solutions, the 31st is the deadline. Go to NBCWashington.com and you'll find an easy application. Thanks for joining us.